whatever, then maybe case-by-case basis, those people that feel that they were harmed more so than others, maybe they can do something extra for them. But as it stands today, from what I'm understanding, everybody is supposed to be restored. You're supposed to get your all debt is supposed to be paid. You're supposed to get a package. Now, for those people who feel they want more, then they would have to do their individual thing. But that's a start, because they've never done anything at this magnitude ever in the history that I've been here. I've never seen them turn around and say, disabled students, 400,000, your debt has been given school loans. I've never seen them asking the state prisons to release people, and the president taking people from the big house to the White House. This is unprecedented. Okay, go ahead. Let me.
Are you there, Dr. Shirley? Suddenly. This is a live joint broadcast with Dr. Shirley Moore and her community talk show with American Disabled Veterans in Action, and we are discussing the current events of congressional records findings and the fact of the matter that there is no justification for what has happened in our courtrooms. One of the things that I want to throw in here is that when we walk into these supposed administrative proceedings of courts, they are supposed to be able to give you honest services. You have a right to expect honest services. And in these honest services, when you ask the court to identify themselves, the judge to identify themselves, and I'd like to see a copy of your oath. Well, you don't know what you're looking at if they give you a copy of the oath, because most people are not aware that the copy of the oath is only valid. It's presented to you with the backing of the bond that's behind it. This is from the Judiciary Act, Chapter 20 of 1789. The Judiciary Act of 1789, Chapter 20. Now, if you don't get that bond, if you ask the judge to give you a copy of the certificate, that is a lack of honest services. That's clear and present lack of honest services, and it's deceptive services because they are supposed to present you with the full knowledge of who they are and what they have. They have hidden this, and this is the immunity that they have been accustomed to. But when you get to go to these courts and you ask the judge to identify themselves and they show you their oath and they give you a copy of the oath and it does not have the security of that insurance behind it, then you have to note the dishonesty of the jurist that you're appearing before. And this goes back to the whole basis of the conversation that we're having, which is the statutes at large that give these lawyers, lawyers, as one of our hosts so likes to call them, standing in federal courts.
Actually, we should get fair and honest service from all elected officials. All of them have failed to give us fair and honest service. But what I want to say is I think Professor was here. Professor, are you there? Well, he'll come. Just come back in because he said he was on another call. That's what I was trying to say. Okay. Wait a minute. But anyway, none of them have given us fair and honest services, and many of them have not even taken that oath. And if they did, they took it on the state level. So therefore, got another problem. They're only allowing for state laws to be presented in their court. They'll tell you in a minute. We are not using federal law, so they deliberately confuse this whole situation to keep the scam going. I just think it's time that they turn this thing around, do right by the people. It's all been fraud. But I think one of the things we need to do, I think the answer to every problem is found in the observation of its construction. We know what the problem is, and we know what the solution is. The problem has been those trusts, and the solution is those trusts. You need to shut them down. That's where we need to focus. Shut the trust down, and they will not behoove them to violate you because there's no money in it. That's what needs to be done.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about your children, your tickets, any of these other things, because there's no money. That's the common denominator. Shut the trust down. I believe we've been given the authority to do so by the Pope and the permission and the tools.
I was on it. I didn't close it.
No, go ahead, Shirley.
Go ahead. No, I was just saying what we need to do is just do a petition asking them to shut the trust down. But see, that's going to be a problem because half the people don't know what that means. So you can't get the signatures. This is where we are. And this is why they've been so successful. You know, they say a divided house can't stand. Even though they may be bad, they are together. And if people would understand that, say, ask them to close those trusts, they would know. Then you have a whole different conversation. They'll take arm and leg to get them to listen. So I just don't know. God just help us all. Go ahead, Professor. Is the professor here? Dr. Anderson?
Yeah, I'm here. I don't see. Is that him?
I thought he was saying something. So let me ask you this, Doctor. How could we simplify it where people could understand it, whereby we might be able to get the participation?
Well, the thing is that we have to look at it, as you said, with how it is applying, because even as this man said in Chicago, you know, we've got to figure out the way to do it. And I think that we need to look at the fact of the matter that we got to bring people to understand that what trust is, what is the certificate, what that negotiable receipt is about. The fact that $1.8 million is added to that every year because of the congressional record taking us from the gold standard. In giving up our silver and gold, our grandparents in 1933, the government said that they would pay for our debts, that our debts would be discharged upon dollar for dollar for whatever they are. But current...
Okay, I cut you off, but I'm cutting you off because guess what? You already lost them. These people, it's got to be, you're not going to, once you get to talking, and I overstand you, they're going to listen.
Got you.
I have so many times about the Pope, and it's one paragraph. They still don't see that. So we've got to dumb it down like kindergarten.
Yeah.
They're not going to see all that.
Well, what it basically comes down to, we have to guard our signature because your signature is the key to the trust. And it's on that signature line that the contract is really intrinsic. Because the line that I'm talking about, for those that don't understand it, you look at your Social Security card and it says signature. And that line is not a line, it's microprint. And it says Social Security Administration. Now, you put your signature to it, and guess what? You have just accessed the trust. Now, you're answering thinking that this is your stuff, but you're not aware that you just signed a contract. And this is why we're trying to get people to wake up, because it's little things like that you don't perceive. You just look at it and you say it's a line, and you don't really take a chance to really go look at it. Even on a checking account, you have the same thing. And it's accessing the accounts off of the trust from which the money's being generated through your birth certificate. I'm not talking about the additions that we're putting into the bank account. I'm talking about the money that the government has set aside for every human being that has a certificate or a certificate of citizenship. It's a negotiable receipt.
And like I said, they can cross Facebook, but I think I don't even want to stay on this birth certificate thing so much. I want to stay focused more so on the fraud that's been perpetrated between keeping the people divided and pretending that we're getting fair and honest services and representation from the courts, when that's all been a fraud. I believe that if we can get those trusts shut down, like we discussed, then we can go to the table and then talk the other things that we would like overturn, like the operating of how these attorneys are supposed to operate and the qualifications. But first, we need some type of nudge to get to the table. We can't be all over the place. So that's why I always say we need a common denominator. And the common denominator that involves every situation is the trust. If we can get that shut down, then we talk about their money. Because, see, I don't care how much knowledge you have. If you don't have any money, nobody wants to listen. And if you're messing with their money, they're going to hear you. So we say, shut it down. Then they might allow us to come to the table. And then these things, for example, the procedures of attorneys and judges, those things could be something that we use as a negotiating tool. But right now, we need something that's going to get their attention. Shut the trust down. And that will get their attention. In other words, you're saying we just shut the bank account down. If you don't have no money, you can't operate it. That floors you. Any thoughts?
Well, I think that you're correct. And I think that in order to shut the trust down, you do have to have some understanding of what that is. And that requires everybody to take up a little bit of time to just do a little bit of understanding of what's going on. And I know we're all busy with our lives and we need to have it plain and simple. But we have to be able to understand that we must work together to try to educate one another, because it takes a village to get this across. You're not going to get it all at one time. And the thing is that we got to keep coming back to the fact and educating as we go. And sometimes recovering old stuff, because we have new people that are joining us all the time. And so we're having this discussion. But we need to also realize that the remedy is also given to us within our rights, but we don't know how to access them. So I think that that's something that we have to do. We have to go on this campaign. We need to work within our communities to work with 25 people, just 25 people who are registered voters, of the like mind, of the same time, and present yourselves to your local leaders to say, look at this. We have a problem here. We have a 13th Amendment that was stripped from the Constitution. We have people that are representing themselves as bar associations to be lawyers that we don't have any legal justification for.
Let me interject there. The Pope, it says go on there on the Pope destroys all corporations. He told you, technically, he destroyed them. And I want you to know, when you see it says it destroys all corporations, he's talking about you. He puts that in parentheses. You were a corporation. So don't get confused. And it's about 2 paragraphs. It's easy reading. Just go in your computer and say the Pope destroys all corporations. You're going to see him. He's going to have a white hat, and whatever he wears, the Pope uniform. And it will tell you that. But technically, he says all corporations, including bars. But you see, it's been destroyed, but we have not acted on it. So he's put it out there, but we're still sitting. That's why I say it's time we need to act. It's already been destroyed. He destroyed them all.
Yes, and see, this is not very long ago that this happened, because this is something that comes to us from the decrees that he put out in 2015. So, while it is recent information, it is not something that we've been able to fully understand as the people, that your